There comes a moment in life that does not look dramatic from the outside, but inside, it changes everything. It is the moment you look around and realize, slowly and painfully, that no one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to carry your burdens for you. No one is going to fight your battles in your place. And no one is responsible for building the life you keep imagining when everything finally gets better. At first, that realization can feel heavy, even unfair, because part of us still hopes someone will appear with guidance, with protection, with the perfect words at the perfect time. We want a hand on our shoulder. We want confirmation that we are not alone. We want some sign that says, "Now it is safe. Now you can begin." But Stoicism Breath asks you to see that moment differently. The Stoic philosophers believe this is not the moment a person breaks. It is the moment a person wakes up. Because the instant you understand that the world does not owe you support, you also understand something much more powerful. Your life no longer has to depend on anyone else's approval. Responsibility returns to where it always belonged, inside your own mind, inside your own choices, inside your own actions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself again and again that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. And once that truth really sinks in, something changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop standing at the edge of your own life, hoping someone else will tell you to begin. And you start strengthening the only things that are truly yours: your character, your discipline, and your ability to remain steady no matter what the world does around you. That is where real transformation begins. Quietly, internally, without applause. After you realize no one is coming to save you, a strange shift begins in the mind. At first, it feels uncomfortable because almost everything around you has trained you to believe that progress depends on support. You are taught that before you move forward, you need encouragement. You need approval. You need the right people behind you. You need validation from someone outside yourself before your effort becomes real. From childhood, the message is everywhere. Teachers approve you. Employers promote you. Audiences applaud you. Friends validate your choices. And slowly, without noticing it, you develop a dangerous habit. You begin looking outward before you ever look inward. You wait for encouragement before taking action. You wait for someone to believe in your idea before you commit to it. You wait for the right environment, the right team, the right timing, the right mood, the right signal from life telling you it is finally safe to begin. But the Stoics would say this habit is the beginning of weakness. Because every moment you spend waiting for support is a moment you hand control of your life to something outside of you. And the outside world is the one place where control does not exist. Other people are carrying their own fears, their own problems, their own priorities. They are trying to survive their own inner battles. They cannot carry your vision for you, because they are busy carrying the weight of their own lives. That is why Stoic philosophy begins with a hard but liberating distinction. Epictetus taught that human freedom starts when you separate what is within your control from what is not. Your effort is within your control. Your discipline is within your control. Your willingness to continue when the path gets difficult is within your control. But the opinions of others are not. Their support is not. Their understanding is not. And the moment you confuse these categories, your mind becomes restless. You start wasting enormous amounts of energy trying to influence things that will never fully obey you. You explain yourself to people who do not want to understand. You chase approval from people too distracted to give it. You delay your own growth because you keep measuring your direction by the reactions of others. That is why the Stoic path begins with a different question. Not, who supports me? Not, who believes in me? Not, who is coming to help? But this, what can I control today? That question changes everything because it returns your attention to the only place where real power lives, your own actions. It brings you back to the ground beneath your feet. It reminds you that even if no one is cheering for you, you can still wake up early. You can still train your mind. You can still improve your skill. You can still do the work in front of you. You can still become stronger, wiser, steadier than you were yesterday. And maybe that is the truth most people spend years avoiding. The life you want will not be built by applause, approval, or perfect support. It will be built by what you do when none of those things arrive. You may not have supporters standing behind you. You may not have investors believing in your vision. You may not even have recognition for the effort you are putting in right now. But even without all of that, you still have something powerful, the ability to act. You can still wake up early when others are sleeping. You can still sharpen your skills when no one is watching. You can still produce meaningful work, even when the world remains silent. This is one of the central ideas shared on Stoicism Breath. Strength is not built by controlling the world around you, but by mastering how you respond to it. The Stoics understood that the world rarely behaves the way we want it to. Marcus Aurelius himself, despite being one of the most powerful men in Rome, wrote reminders to himself every single morning. Not because his life was easy, but because he knew it would not be. He expected people to misunderstand him. He expected criticism. He expected to be ignored, doubted, and sometimes openly opposed. And here is what made him strong. He did not expect the world to support him. He expected resistance. Now think about that for a moment. What happens when you stop expecting life to carry you? You stop feeling betrayed when it doesn't. You stop wasting emotional energy on disappointment. Instead, you return to your work. Quietly. Consistently. Without drama. There is a kind of quiet strength that begins to grow when you live this way. A strength that does not depend on applause. You stop measuring your progress by recognition, and you start measuring it by effort. You stop waiting for encouragement, because movement itself becomes your encouragement. Each small action you take becomes proof that your life is still in your hands. Maybe it is reading 10 pages when you feel tired. Maybe it is completing one task you have been avoiding. Maybe it is choosing discipline over comfort, even when nobody would notice the difference. Over time, those small decisions begin to speak louder than words. And something surprising happens. You start to realize that the absence of support was never a wall blocking your path. It was simply a condition of reality that most people refuse to accept. Once you accept it, your focus sharpens. Instead of scanning the horizon, hoping someone will appear to help you, you redirect that same energy inward. You build yourself. You strengthen your habits. You refine how you think. You train your mind to act even when motivation fades, because motivation is unreliable, but discipline can be trained. Science supports this idea as well. Studies on habit formation show that consistent repetition strengthens neural pathways in the brain. In simple terms, the more often you act with discipline, the easier it becomes to repeat that action. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural, not because the world changed, but because you did. And slowly, without realizing it at first, this shift changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs permission. You start seeing yourself as someone who carries responsibility. Responsibility feels heavy at the beginning. It can feel uncomfortable, even overwhelming. But over time, responsibility becomes the foundation of real confidence. Because when your life is built on what you control, your effort, your discipline, your choices, your stability no longer depends on the mood of the world. It depends on the strength of your character. And when you reach that point, another realization quietly appears in your mind, one that many people spend years avoiding. You must accept where you are starting from. This is where many people struggle. They look at their current situation and feel frustrated. They compare themselves to others who seem to have more resources, more opportunities, more connections, more guidance. They imagine how much easier life would be if they had been born into different circumstances, different families, different environments, different beginnings. But Stoicism Breath reminds us that resisting reality is one of the fastest ways to drain your energy. Reality does not change just because we dislike it. Complaining about your starting point does not move you forward. It traps you in bitterness and delay. Accepting where you stand today is not weakness. It is clarity. It is the moment you stop arguing with the facts of your life and begin working with them instead of against them. Stoic philosophy teaches that every person is placed into a position shaped by circumstance. Some begin with advantages. Others begin with very little. But virtue, real progress, has never depended on favorable beginnings. It depends on how you respond. Consider the life of Epictetus. He was not born into privilege. He was born a slave. He lived without freedom, without comfort, without status. And yet, he became one of the most respected Stoic teachers in history. Not because his starting point was easy, but because his response was disciplined. So the question becomes personal. Not, why did I start here? Not, why do others have more than me? But, what can I build from where I stand today? Because once you stop fighting your starting point and begin working from it, your energy returns. Your mind becomes clearer. Your actions become more deliberate. And step by step, without needing applause, without waiting for permission, you begin to build something that belongs entirely to you, a life shaped not by circumstance, but by response. Epictetus was not born into privilege. He did not begin with comfort, support, or opportunity. He began as a slave. And yet, despite those harsh beginnings, he became one of the most influential philosophers in history. His life became living proof of a powerful Stoic truth. Your starting point does not define your limits. Your response to it does. That idea alone can change how you see your own life. Because the moment you accept that you may have to begin alone, something inside you starts to shift. Instead of constantly looking outward for reassurance, you begin building stability from within. Instead of wishing for better conditions, you begin using the conditions already in front of you. Starting alone feels uncomfortable at first. That is natural. Human beings are wired to seek belonging, encouragement, and support. We want someone to say, "You are doing the right thing." We want confirmation that we are not wasting our time. But solitude, as uncomfortable as it feels, can become one of the most powerful teachers you will ever encounter. When there is no one else to rely on, you begin paying closer attention to your own mind. You start noticing your habits, the ones that move you forward and the ones that hold you back. You notice your fears, the quiet doubts that whisper when things get hard. You notice your impulses, the moments when comfort tempts you away from discipline. And perhaps most importantly, you begin noticing your excuses. Without the constant noise of outside validation, your attention slowly turns inward. This inward focus is not isolation, it is awareness. The Stoics believe that self-examination is one of the most important disciplines a person can develop. Marcus Aurelius spent countless nights writing reflections to himself, not to impress anyone, not to be praised, but to refine his own thinking. Imagine ending your day by asking yourself simple questions. What did I do well today? Where did I react instead of respond? What can I do better tomorrow? In those quiet moments, Marcus examined his actions, corrected his thinking, and strengthened his character. And when you begin alone, you are given the same opportunity. The world becomes less about comparison and more about cultivation. You are no longer competing with the advantages of others. You are working with the materials of your own life, your time, your energy, your effort. People who begin alone often develop strengths that cannot be taught in comfortable conditions. Patience begins to grow because progress must be built step by step. There is no shortcut, no sudden leap, just steady movement forward. Discipline begins to grow because there is no one else enforcing standards for you. No supervisor, no applause, just your own commitment. And creativity begins to grow because when guidance is limited, you are forced to solve problems on your own. Modern psychology supports this idea. When people face challenges without immediate solutions, the brain adapts by building new problem-solving pathways. In simple terms, struggle forces growth. Comfort rarely does. These qualities, patience, discipline, creativity, slowly form something deeper, resilience. And resilience is far more valuable than convenience. A life filled only with ease does not prepare you for difficulty. But a life that begins without support forces you to grow strong early. It teaches you how to endure uncertainty, how to adapt when plans fail, how to keep moving forward even when recognition never arrives. The Stoics never promised that life would be easy. In fact, they believed the opposite. They believed life would test your patience again and again. It would challenge your judgment. It would stretch your courage. But they also believed something equally powerful. Every challenge contains the raw material for growth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the obstacle in the path becomes the path itself. Think about that for a moment. The very thing that seems to block your progress may actually be the thing that strengthens you enough to move forward. For someone starting alone, this idea becomes deeply meaningful, because the absence of support is not just an obstacle to overcome, it is part of your training. Every day you wake up and continue despite uncertainty, you are strengthening the muscles of your character. Each time you complete a task without recognition, you are proving to yourself that progress does not require applause. Each small victory earned through your own effort becomes quiet evidence that growth is possible, even in silence. And slowly, your perspective begins to change. You stop asking, "Why did I have to start this way?" You begin asking, "How can I use this beginning to build something meaningful?" That shift creates a new kind of confidence. Not loud confidence, not arrogant confidence, but calm confidence, the kind that does not need to be announced. It does not depend on praise. It does not collapse under criticism. It is simply the quiet understanding that you are capable of moving forward from exactly where you stand today. When you fully accept your starting point, something powerful happens inside your mind. You release one of the heaviest burdens people carry: resentment toward the past and envy toward others. You stop replaying old frustrations. You stop measuring your worth against someone else's advantages. And the energy that was once wasted on comparison returns to the present moment. That is where action lives. That is where progress begins. That is where your future is shaped. From that moment forward, your path becomes clearer. You are no longer waiting for ideal circumstances to appear. You are shaping your life from the circumstances that already exist. You are building with what you have instead of dreaming about what you wish you had. And once you reach that stage, once you stop wishing for different beginnings, the next lesson naturally appears. Progress does not require constant explanation. One of the most common traps people fall into is the urge to announce their intentions before they have built the strength to carry them out. They talk about what they plan to do. They share goals before taking action. They seek validation before building results. But true progress does not begin with words. It begins with quiet action. Many people make the same mistake when they begin chasing a goal. They talk about it too soon. They share their plans with friends, with family, sometimes even with strangers online. They describe the future they want to build, the success they imagine, the discipline they promise themselves they will follow. And in that moment, it feels good. It feels exciting. Almost like progress has already started. But here is the hidden danger. Talking about a goal can create the illusion of movement without any real action. Your brain releases a small burst of satisfaction just from speaking about what you intend to do. It feels like you have already taken the first step, even though nothing has truly changed yet. On Stoicism Breath, this is where the Stoic mindset offers a powerful correction. The Stoics believe that a person should spend far less time speaking about virtue and far more time practicing it. Words are easy. Anyone can talk about discipline. Anyone can describe success. But character, real character, is built quietly through repeated action that no one sees. When you speak too often about what you plan to accomplish, you expose your progress to the opinions of others before it has had time to grow strong. Some people will doubt you. Some will question your plan. Others, even without meaning to, may weaken your determination with careless comments. And sometimes, even encouragement can become a distraction if it replaces the quiet effort required for real improvement. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of something simple but powerful. Do not waste energy trying to appear disciplined or wise. The only thing that matters is becoming disciplined and wise through practice. When you truly understand this, you begin to respect the power of quiet work. Quiet work does not mean hiding from the world because you are afraid. It means protecting your attention from noise that does not serve your purpose. Every meaningful goal requires energy. Every lasting change requires focus. And energy is limited. Focus is fragile. If that energy is constantly scattered, through explaining your plans, defending your decisions, debating your direction, there is very little left for the work itself. You become busy talking instead of building. But when you work quietly, your energy stays where it matters most. Instead of telling people what you are going to become, you begin becoming it. Instead of defending your direction to others, you strengthen your ability to walk that direction, even if no one believes in it yet. Over time, this habit creates a powerful shift in your mindset. You begin valuing effort more than recognition. The satisfaction of completing a task becomes more meaningful than hearing applause. And this is deeply Stoic, because Stoicism teaches that the true reward of action is the action itself. Think about that idea carefully. The purpose of discipline is not to impress others. It is to refine yourself. When you work quietly day after day, something remarkable happens. Your progress becomes visible without explanation. Your skill becomes sharper. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your reactions become steadier. These changes do not need to be announced. They reveal themselves naturally through your behavior. Seneca once wrote that the best way to demonstrate wisdom is through the calm consistency of daily life, not through speeches, not through promises, but through the quiet evidence of what you do each day. This principle becomes especially important when you are building something difficult or uncertain. The early stages of growth are fragile. A new habit, a new skill, or a new direction in life is like a young plant. It needs time to take root. Too much exposure too soon, too many opinions, too much judgment, can weaken it before it has the strength to survive. Working quietly gives your progress time to stabilize. It allows discipline to grow stronger without constant interference. And as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, your actions begin to accumulate into something undeniable. The work you complete each day becomes your foundation. Each finished task becomes proof that you can rely on yourself. And from that proof, confidence begins to grow. But this confidence is very different from the kind that comes from praise. Praise feels good, but it is temporary. It depends on the opinions of others. And opinions change. Circumstances change. Applause fades. But confidence built through action is different. It comes from knowing, not hoping, that you have done the work. It is the quiet confidence of someone who does not need to talk about discipline, because discipline is already part of their daily life. Confidence that is built through your own effort feels different from any confidence given by praise. It does not shake easily. It does not disappear when people stop watching. It stays steady because it is rooted in real experience. You know you can continue, not because someone told you that you could, but because you have already proven it to yourself, again and again, through your own actions. On Stoicism Breath, this is where quiet work becomes something deeper than just a productivity method. It becomes a way of protecting your inner peace. When your attention stays on the task instead of the attention surrounding the task, your mind begins to settle. You are less disturbed by criticism. You are less distracted by approval. Your energy stops leaking into unnecessary worries and returns to something simple and powerful, doing the work in front of you. Improve a little today. Repeat again tomorrow. Allow time to do its work. This rhythm creates a calm strength that many people search for but rarely build. Because when your actions finally speak, they speak with a clarity that words never could. Results do not need explanation. They carry their own evidence. But here is another truth that must be accepted. Hardship is unavoidable in any meaningful pursuit. The moment you begin relying on your own effort and walking your own path, resistance will appear. Plans will fail. Progress will slow down. Doubt will show up without warning, sometimes when you least expect it. Many people see these moments and assume something is wrong. They believe difficulty means they chose the wrong path. They believe struggle means they are not capable enough to continue. But Stoic philosophy offers a completely different way to interpret these moments. Hardship is not a signal to retreat. It is an invitation to grow. The Stoics believe that adversity reveals the true condition of a person's character. When life is comfortable, it is easy to appear calm, easy to appear disciplined, easy to appear patient. But comfort can hide weakness because nothing is forcing the mind to grow stronger. Only difficulty exposes the truth. Epictetus once explained this with a simple image. Challenges are like weights placed into the hands of an athlete. The weight is not meant to harm the athlete. It is meant to strengthen their muscles through resistance. Without resistance, muscles remain weak. Without challenge, character remains untested. Think about your own life. Every difficult situation you face carries the same potential. Each hardship placed in your path is like a training tool for your inner strength. But how you interpret that hardship determines what it becomes. If you treat difficulty as an enemy, it drains your energy. You complain. You resist. You replay the situation in your mind, wishing it were different. You exhaust yourself fighting reality. But if you treat difficulty as training, something remarkable happens. The obstacle becomes useful. Instead of weakening your spirit, it sharpens it. Instead of breaking your discipline, it strengthens it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this mindset constantly. Whenever frustration or opposition appeared, he reminded himself that the event itself was neutral. The situation was not good or bad by nature. The meaning of the event depended entirely on how he responded to it. If he reacted with anger, the situation controlled him. If he reacted with patience, discipline, and clarity, the situation became a tool for growth. That is the essence of Stoic resilience. Hardship is not the end of progress. It is the place where progress is forged. Just like metal is shaped under intense heat, your character is shaped under pressure. And every difficult moment brings the same quiet question into your life. Will this experience make you weaker? Or will you use it to refine your character? When you begin to see hardship in this way, your relationship with difficulty changes completely. Instead of fearing challenges, you begin to expect them. Not with dread, but with readiness. Because you understand that each obstacle carries hidden value. A delayed opportunity becomes a lesson in patience. A failed plan becomes a lesson in adjustment. A rejection becomes a lesson in resilience. Even modern psychology supports this idea. Research shows that people who face moderate levels of challenge, not overwhelming, but meaningful, develop stronger coping skills and greater long-term resilience. Struggle, when approached correctly, becomes training for the mind. And once you begin living this way, something shifts inside you. Challenges no longer feel like personal attacks. They feel like opportunities to grow stronger than you were yesterday. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That question alone can change the direction of your life. A mistake is never just a mistake if you choose to learn from it. It becomes a lesson that sharpens your judgment. A rejection is never just rejection if you respond with effort. It becomes an invitation to improve your skills and return stronger than before. On Stoicism Breath, every obstacle is seen as part of the discipline you are building, not something standing in your way. Because discipline is not created in comfort. It is created through repetition under pressure. It is created in those moments when motivation fades and you still continue. It is created when circumstances become frustrating, but you choose to remain calm instead of reacting emotionally. It is created each time you refuse to abandon your principles, even when things become difficult. Think about that for a moment. Anyone can stay committed when life feels easy. Anyone can stay positive when everything works as planned. But the true test comes when things do not go your way, when the day feels heavy, when progress slows, when frustration builds quietly inside you. Every time you continue working in those moments, something powerful happens. Your discipline grows stronger. Your character becomes steadier. And perhaps most importantly, you begin proving something to yourself, that your values are not just ideas, but actions. Over time, these small acts accumulate, not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, like drops of water filling a container, one action at a time. And eventually, you begin to feel something new inside, an inner stability that does not easily shake when life becomes uncertain. Situations that once created stress begin to feel manageable. Difficult days that once discouraged you start to feel like normal parts of the journey. You begin to notice that what used to overwhelm you now simply challenges you. And this transformation does not happen suddenly. It grows slowly as your mind becomes trained to meet hardship with discipline instead of resistance. Seneca once wrote that a person who has never faced adversity cannot truly know their own strength. Without challenge, potential remains hidden. You might believe you are strong, but until you face resistance, you do not truly know what you are capable of. Hardship reveals what lies beneath the surface. It forces you to confront your limits, not to break you, but to expand you. This is why Stoic philosophy never promised an easy life. It never suggested that growth happens without difficulty. Instead, it offers something far more valuable, a path toward building a strong mind capable of facing any kind of life. And when you begin to accept hardship as part of your training, something surprising happens. Fear begins to lose its power, not because difficulty disappears, but because your relationship with difficulty changes. You no longer interpret challenges as failure. You begin to see them as evidence that you are engaged in meaningful work. Because the truth is, easy paths rarely lead to meaningful growth. It is the difficult path, the uncertain one, that shapes who you become. Each challenge becomes another opportunity to practice discipline. Each difficult moment becomes another repetition in your mental training. And slowly, hardship stops feeling like an interruption to your progress. It becomes the very method through which your progress is formed. As this discipline begins to take shape, another realization becomes clear, especially if you are walking a difficult path without constant support. You must learn to become your own source of strength. Many people rely on outside motivation to keep moving forward. They wait for encouragement from others. They depend on approval, reminders, and reassurance to maintain momentum. But what happens when those things disappear? What happens when no one is there to cheer you on? For many people, progress fades. Effort weakens. Direction becomes uncertain. But Stoic philosophy teaches that true stability cannot depend on outside forces. Because if your strength depends on encouragement from others, then your strength disappears the moment that encouragement fades. A Stoic life requires something deeper, what we might call inner leadership. This means guiding your own actions regardless of how the world responds. It does not mean rejecting help when it appears, It does not mean isolating yourself from others. Instead, it means your progress does not rely on their presence. Your direction comes from within. To live this way, you must learn how to support yourself mentally and emotionally. Each day, you remind yourself why your work matters. Each day, you renew your commitment to discipline, even when no one is watching, even when recognition is absent. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. Even though he was surrounded by advisors, soldiers, and citizens, he never allowed others to control his thinking. He wrote to himself. He reminded himself of his principles. He trained his mind the same way an athlete trains their body, through repetition. Imagine starting each day with a simple reminder. Stay disciplined. Stay patient. Stay focused on what matters. And imagine ending each day with a quiet reflection. Did I act according to my values today? Did I remain steady when things became difficult? Did I continue even when I felt tired? This is how inner strength is built, not through sudden bursts of motivation, but through daily reinforcement of purpose. And over time, this daily practice creates something unbreakable, a sense of direction that does not depend on circumstances, and a strength that does not disappear when the world becomes silent. Marcus Aurelius did not stand in front of crowds to declare his strength. He did not broadcast his discipline to the world. Instead, he did something much quieter and much more powerful. He wrote to himself, in private journals, in moments when no one else was watching. These writings were not meant to impress anyone. They were not speeches or performances. They were conversations with his own conscience. In those quiet reflections, he reminded himself to stay patient when things moved slowly, to remain honest even when it was difficult, to stay disciplined when comfort called his name, and to keep his attention fixed on what truly mattered. On Stoicism Breath, this reveals one of the most important Stoic principles. A wise person learns to guide their own mind the way a teacher guides a student. Think about that image. A teacher does not shout at a student for every mistake. A teacher observes, corrects, explains, and encourages growth. In the same way, you must learn to guide your own thoughts. When discouragement shows up, and it will, you remind yourself of your purpose. When frustration rises inside you, you gently bring your attention back to reason. When laziness whispers that you deserve comfort instead of effort, you answer with discipline. In this way, you become both the student and the teacher within your own life. This inner dialogue, the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening, may be one of the most powerful tools you will ever develop. Without it, the mind drifts. It moves toward distraction, toward doubt, toward avoidance. It looks for the easiest path, not the right one. But with strong internal dialogue, the mind becomes steadier, more intentional, more focused on what truly matters. Becoming your own source of strength also means something that many people try to avoid: accepting responsibility for your condition. It is easy to blame circumstances when progress feels slow. It is easy to blame other people, past mistakes, or unfair situations. But Stoic philosophy teaches that responsibility is not a burden, it is the beginning of power. The moment you accept that your response to events is always within your control, something changes inside you. You stop blaming the world. Instead of saying, "This situation is unfair," you begin asking, "How can I respond more wisely?" Instead of waiting for someone else to solve your problems, you begin searching for solutions yourself. This mindset does not make life easier, but it makes you stronger. Gradually, it builds a deep sense of independence. You begin to realize that although you cannot control everything that happens, you can always control how you react. And over time, those reactions shape the direction of your entire life. Each calm response strengthens your patience. Each disciplined action strengthens your focus. Each responsible choice strengthens your confidence. And this confidence is different from the kind most people chase. Confidence built on praise from others is fragile. It depends on conditions you cannot control. It rises when people applaud and falls when people criticize. But confidence built on self-guidance becomes stable. It grows from repeated proof that you can act according to your values even when motivation disappears. Each day you see yourself choosing discipline over comfort. Each day you witness your own effort, even when no one notices. Each day you prove to yourself that you are capable of leading your own life. Over time, these experiences accumulate into belief, not blind belief, but earned belief. A quiet certainty that you can rely on yourself. The Stoics valued this form of self-leadership because it creates something rare: freedom. When your strength comes from within, you are no longer controlled by the moods of others. Praise does not inflate your ego. Criticism does not destroy your determination. Both become temporary events that pass through your awareness without changing your direction. Your path becomes steady because it is anchored in principles, not reactions. This kind of strength does not look dramatic. It does not attract attention. It grows quietly through daily practice. Each morning, you make a decision to act according to reason rather than impulse. Each afternoon, you continue working even when distractions appear. Each evening, you pause and reflect on your actions, asking yourself how you can improve tomorrow. These simple routines may seem small, but they form something powerful beneath the surface. Like roots growing underground, unseen but essential. Day by day, they build a foundation of resilience beneath your life. And the more you rely on this internal structure, the less you feel shaken by uncertainty outside of it. Problems still appear. Challenges still arise. But your response becomes steadier. Your direction becomes clearer. Eventually, you reach a point where progress feels self-sustaining. Not because life becomes easier, but because you have become stronger. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because you became stronger. That is the real shift. When your strength no longer depends on approval from others, you gain something far more valuable than encouragement. You gain the ability to stand firm, no matter what circumstances surround you. On Stoicism Breath, this moment is seen as a turning point. Because once you begin relying on your own inner strength, another important truth slowly reveals itself. Strength alone is not enough if it has no structure. Many people feel motivated for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. They start strong. They feel energized. They promise themselves change. But without discipline, that motivation fades as quickly as it appeared. Life becomes busy. Fatigue sets in. Distractions multiply. And slowly, the energy that once felt unstoppable begins to disappear. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that a stable life cannot be built on temporary bursts of energy. It must be built on consistent habits, simple actions repeated daily, even when enthusiasm is gone. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is structure. It is the framework that protects your intentions from being weakened by distraction, emotion, or fatigue. Without structure, the mind drifts toward comfort, toward avoidance, toward whatever feels easiest in the moment. But with structure, the mind learns how to move forward, even when motivation is low, even when the day feels heavy. This is why Stoic philosophy placed so much importance on daily practice. They did not treat wisdom as something abstract or distant, like a theory to be studied once and forgotten. They treated it as a way of living, something that must be exercised every single day through ordinary actions. One of the most effective ways to build this discipline is by giving each day a simple, intentional structure. And that structure begins in the morning. When you wake up, your mind stands at a crossroads. One direction leads to intention. The other leads to impulse. If you allow the day to begin without direction, it quickly fills with distractions, messages, notifications, unexpected tasks, obligations that pull you away from what truly matters. But if you begin the day with awareness, you create an anchor, something that steadies the rest of your actions. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every morning. Before facing the world, he reminded himself that the day ahead would not be easy. He expected impatience from others. He expected misunderstanding. He expected inconvenience. By preparing his mind in advance, he removed the element of surprise. And when difficulties appeared, as they always do, he was not shocked. He was ready. This morning preparation creates clarity. It reminds you that the purpose of your day is not comfort, it is growth. After the morning begins with intention, the next part of structure is focused work. Modern life is filled with constant interruptions. Messages appear. Notifications demand attention. Screens light up. Each distraction pulls your focus in a different direction. Without discipline, these interruptions fragment your concentration. Your work becomes shallow. Your progress becomes slow. But Stoic discipline encourages a different approach. When you choose a task, give it your full attention. Remove unnecessary distractions. Silence what does not serve your purpose. Allow your mind to settle into deep focus. This type of concentration does more than improve the quality of your work. It strengthens your ability to control your own attention. Each time you resist distraction, you train your mind. Each time you stay focused despite interruptions, you reinforce the habit of directing your energy where it matters most. Over time, this becomes a powerful advantage. Because the truth is, most people never train their attention. They allow their focus to be pulled in every direction without resistance. But the final piece of this daily structure comes at the end of the day: reflection. The Stoics believe that reflection is essential for growth. Seneca practiced this every evening. Before resting, he reviewed his day and asked himself simple but honest questions. Where did I act wisely today? Where did emotion take control? What can I improve tomorrow? These questions are simple but powerful, because reflection transforms experience into learning. Without reflection, mistakes repeat themselves. The mind moves forward without understanding what went wrong. But with reflection, each day becomes a lesson. Each day sharpens your judgment. Each day strengthens your awareness. Each day improves your next decision. And when you combine these three practices, morning intention, focused effort during the day, and evening reflection, you create a rhythm that supports long-term growth. This rhythm does not require perfection. Some days will still feel difficult. Some days motivation will feel weak. Some days progress will appear slow. But structure provides stability during those moments. And stability, not excitement, is what creates lasting change. Instead of depending on motivation that comes and goes like the weather, you begin to rely on habits, steady, reliable habits that continue guiding your actions even on the days when you feel tired, distracted, or uncertain. This is the quiet strength of discipline. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady and dependable. On Stoicism Breath, discipline is not about forcing yourself into endless effort. It is about creating a rhythm that carries you forward when your emotions cannot. Because emotions are unpredictable. Motivation rises and falls. Some days you feel strong. Other days you feel drained. But habits, when repeated consistently, remain. And this is where real change begins. Over weeks and months, small actions repeated each day begin shaping who you are. Not through sudden breakthroughs, but through steady repetition. Skills begin to improve. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your ability to remain calm during challenges becomes stronger. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. Think about learning any skill: driving, exercising, writing, or speaking confidently. At first, everything feels awkward. It requires effort. You have to think about every step. But with repetition, the same actions become automatic. What once required intense focus becomes part of your normal behavior. That is what discipline does to your life. Over time, discipline stops feeling like restriction. It stops feeling like something that limits you. Instead, it begins to feel like freedom. Because when your actions are guided by clear principles instead of random impulses, your life gains direction. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do every moment. You already know your path. The Stoics believe that a disciplined life is not rigid, it is purposeful. It allows you to move through uncertainty without losing your balance. Each day becomes an opportunity to practice the values you have chosen: patience, focus, responsibility, resilience. And through this daily practice, something powerful happens. The person you are today slowly becomes the person you intended to become. As discipline becomes part of your daily life, and your actions follow structure rather than impulse, you begin to notice deeper changes, not dramatic at first, but meaningful. Your mind becomes calmer when problems appear. Your reactions become slower, more thoughtful. The distractions that once controlled your attention begin to lose their power. At first, these changes feel small. You may not even notice them right away. But over time, they accumulate into something much greater, a form of stability that does not depend on the outside world. And this is the point where the Stoics believe true success begins to reveal itself. Most people spend their lives chasing visible forms of success: recognition, wealth, influence, approval. They want applause. They want admiration. They want the feeling of being seen and valued by others. And there is nothing inherently wrong with these desires. But they share one common weakness: they depend on circumstances you cannot control. Wealth can disappear. Recognition can fade. Influence can shift with public opinion. If your definition of success depends entirely on these external rewards, your peace of mind will always remain fragile. You will always be vulnerable to change, to criticism, to uncertainty. But Stoic philosophy offers a different definition of success, one that cannot easily be taken away. The Stoics called it sovereignty of the self. This means the ability to govern your own mind regardless of what happens around you. When you reach this state, your emotional balance no longer depends on the reactions of others. Praise does not inflate your ego. Criticism does not destroy your confidence. Both become temporary events, passing through your awareness without controlling your direction. Marcus Aurelius practiced this form of inner sovereignty while ruling an empire. Imagine that for a moment. A man surrounded by immense power, wealth, and responsibility, yet constantly reminding himself that none of it mattered if his mind lacked discipline. He wrote to himself daily, reminding his own thoughts not to become attached to appearance or reputation. He believed that a person should not concern themselves with how they appear to others, but with whether their actions remain aligned with reason and virtue. This perspective changes the meaning of victory. Success is no longer measured only by outcomes, not by money, not by praise, not by recognition, but by the quality of the person you become through the process. Did you remain patient when things became difficult? Did you act with integrity when no one was watching? Did you continue when others would have quit? These become the new measures of success. And when you begin living this way, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing criticism. You begin building something far more stable, a life anchored in discipline, guided by reason, and strengthened by daily action. That is the quiet power of a disciplined mind. A person who gains wealth but loses integrity has not truly succeeded. A person who earns recognition but sacrifices inner peace has not gained what truly matters. These are hard truths, but they are necessary ones. Because in a world that constantly celebrates money, status, and attention, it is easy to confuse visibility with value. On Stoicism Breath, success is measured differently. Not by how much you collect, but by who you become. A person who strengthens their character, sharpens their judgment, and learns to remain steady through adversity achieves something far more enduring than wealth or fame. That kind of success does not depend on perfect conditions. In fact, it is often forged in difficult moments, moments when life becomes uncertain and outcomes are unclear. Think about the times when life did not go according to plan, when uncertainty appeared, when pressure increased. Those are the moments that shape you most. Each time you maintain discipline when everything feels unstable, your inner sovereignty becomes stronger. Each time you choose patience instead of anger, clarity instead of confusion, responsibility instead of blame, you are strengthening your ability to govern your own mind. And over time, something remarkable begins to happen. You begin to trust yourself. Not because someone told you that you were capable, but because you have seen your own resilience in action. You remember the difficult days you endured, the obstacles you moved through, the moments when quitting felt easier, but you continued anyway. That memory becomes your evidence. Even when circumstances change, when life shifts in unexpected ways, the foundation you built inside yourself remains. That realization brings a quiet confidence, not loud, not arrogant, but steady. You no longer need applause to feel valuable. You no longer depend on recognition to believe in yourself, because you have witnessed your own strength, and that experience cannot be taken away. The Stoics believe that this state, Inner sovereignty is the highest form of freedom available to a human being. External freedom can be limited. Politics can change. Economies can collapse. Social conditions can shift. Opportunities can disappear. But the freedom of your mind, the ability to guide your thoughts and actions, remains available in every circumstance. When you learn to think with reason instead of reacting with impulse, you become less vulnerable to the chaos around you. Your stability begins to travel with you wherever you go. Whether life becomes easy or difficult, your center remains steady. And from that stability, something deeper begins to emerge: purpose. You begin to realize that all the effort you invested was never only about external achievements. It was never just about money, recognition, or results. It was about shaping the kind of person capable of handling those results wisely. Because success without discipline leads to chaos. Power without judgment leads to destruction. Achievement without self-control leads to instability. But discipline changes that. The habits you built were not just tools for productivity. They were the training ground where you learned to master yourself. Every moment of patience strengthened your endurance. Every act of honesty strengthened your character. Every moment of restraint strengthened your self-control. This is why the Stoics viewed personal growth not as a destination, but as a lifelong practice. You do not become disciplined once and remain that way forever. Inner sovereignty is not a trophy you win. It is a state you maintain through daily awareness, through daily effort, through repeated choices. Each day offers another opportunity. Another opportunity to practice patience when frustration appears. Another opportunity to show courage when uncertainty rises. Another opportunity to act with honesty when shortcuts seem tempting. Another opportunity to strengthen self-control when impulse demands comfort. And slowly, step by step, day after day, you become the kind of person who cannot easily be shaken by fortune or misfortune. When you live this way, success stops being something distant, something you chase endlessly. Instead, it becomes something present, something visible in the way you think, in the way you act, in the way you carry yourself through ordinary moments. Success becomes the calm confidence in your voice, the steadiness in your decisions, the resilience in your actions. And in that quiet mastery of your own mind, you discover the most stable form of success a person can possess, not success given by the world, but success built within yourself.